Another day, another chance, another way, another dance. Today I'll be discussing to you all about something I've been working on all along. It's pretty much for loops. So within the for loops, actually, I create a weather forecast has been created. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. So yeah. So let's get right into it, man. And I'm also going to be doing this with the help of Ernest as my navigator. And yeah, that's what's happening, man.
Okay.
So in chapter 17, how we started off is we press shift, exclamation mark, enter, right? And then we create within the head element of our body or our HTML, we create a link relations because this pretty much refers to what we can be working with. You know what I mean? So what we can be working with the style sheet. The style sheet is pretty much the page that you've got. It's the page that we've got, man, it's the page that we've got, on our web page. So that's what we've got. So style sheet type text /CSS, right? So that's the type of this type of thing that we got, text in media screen. Then for each ref within our head body, that we in our head element we got type 17.css. That's what we've got. So what CSS does is it takes our front end, man, and it actually increases the static and pretty much the overall quality, of the economics for our front end. So that's what it does, increases that. So there, each ref does. So that's gonna be our head. And then, we pretty much had like a plain title before, called page title. So what we call it now is weather forecast, exclamation mark, and yeah. Then body, div ID, equals 7-day weather. Right, so that's what we've got here. That's what we have. And then div ID, 7-day weather. And then the reason why you put a div ID element is because why not have a case, man, where when we're trying to create like a function for this element, man, we'll be able to refer to this function so that whenever, if you're pretty much adding like a function to our elements here, because what HTML does is HTML, it pretty much runs everything that you see on the front end here. So you want to have a case where our HTML pretty much has like a function that comes from our back end. So yeah, that's what we've got here. Then our script source type 17.js. So this pretty much helps us refer to like a function, for HTML. So that's what it does, yeah, so on and so forth, man. So that's what it does. So you're able to create like a function for it, so yeah.
Okay.
So this pretty much is it's pretty much like the template, the structure for loop. So as you can see for the 4, we've got variables I, variable index. So what indexing does is it's pretty much like a placeholder, right? So that's what it does. So what it does is it pretty much gives us a placeholder, and then what the 10 does is it pretty much sets a limit to a for loop. A for loop typically would be an infinite one. So in order to make it infinite, it would be a 0, but the 10 makes sure that we go from from 1 to 10, right? And then for our I index, it make sure that the I is greater than 0. And then what I minus does is it helps decrement from 10 to 1. Then it sends us an alert. So what the alert does is it takes the I, and pretty much displays it, and then afterwards it gives us an alert called blast off. And then it's pretty much the same thing here. Friends, the math random, my friends, yeah, pretty much the same damn thing there, So listing 17.5, variable days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Variable cold weather, partly cloudy, raining, snowing, thunderstorm, foggy. So these are like pretty much variables that you've been making use of when you're working with our if else statements and our for loops. So for our days, this creates a variable that you'll be able to use, man. Cold weather, hot weather, partly cloudy, raining, snowing, thunderstorm, foggy, then sunny, then partly sunny. So that's what it does, man. So it's cold weather, hot weather, max temp 48, real temp 8, generate weather, function generate weather, then for variable ID equals 0, I is less than days. So what this does is the length of the days can be greater than the I. So that's what it does. This pretty much measures the length of the days. So what the variable does is it pretty much measures over, and then measures over the days. So what days at length does is pretty much takes this length here and measures over it and makes sure that the index will be based on the placeholders that each day has in increments. What it means is the first value will be considered first, and then it pretty much increments up to the last value, which is Sunday. The variable temp today equals math floor. So what this does is it creates like it randomizes the temperatures, and it also randomizes the temperatures for pretty much what you see here. So that's what it does. Randomize the temperatures, man. Yeah, sorry about that, man. Spasms there. So it pretty much randomizes the temperatures there. Method floor, method random, times 1 max temp minus min temp plus min temp. So this is pretty much what it does, Right, so it pretty much it makes a method floor with a temperature, and then we got an if else statement because beforehand we just had random temperatures for the different weathers, and it wouldn't make sense if for a rainy day it would be like 40 degrees outside. So you create an if else statement where if the weather is equal to or less than 28, equal to or greater than 28, it's gonna be hot weather, man. And then if it's sorry for the less than 28, man. It's gonna be a cold weather day. This is where our variables come into play, man. So document get element ID 7-day weather that inner HTML equal to or additional to div ID plus days I plus class weather today plus fork. So this pretty much what it does is it pretty much sets up a string, and that string includes everything that you see there. So forecast for, and then Monday is pretty much the variable for days there, right? Days I, weather today plus forecast for days I, or today, and so this is pretty much a string that we displayed on the HTML, and then else. This is also the same thing. You pretty much create like a math flow. It sets up a flow for math random. Then times called the weather, that length, right? The document get element ID, 7-day weather in HTML, div ID, plus days I, plus class, plus weather today, plus forecast for days I, plus weather today, and then temp today. This is pretty much like a string. It's a string, man, for string, same thing there, string for the else statement. So these strings, they make sure that whether you're dealing with a hot day or cold day or pretty much a condition for the temperatures, we're still gonna get the same templates that we had before for the hot weather. So you're still gonna get the type of weather, the degree, and the forecast for Monday, except the else statement is giving an option for the if statement. So if it's a hot day, so if it's a hot day, man, then you're pretty much gonna have a degrees less than 28. So that's what you're gonna have. So on the back end, man, what it does is adds functionality. Then you can take the back end, link it up with the HTML to create a full stack relationship between the front end and the back end. HTML, and then that's what it does, man. And then for CSS, mind my computer, bro. Mind this thing, man. I'm just checking my GitHub there, man. Right. Okay. What CSS does, it pretty much sets up the colors, and the tables, for what you've got here. So that's what it does, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with height, float, border, padding, font family, font size. So what hashtag does is we're dealing with an ID elements, that we're dealing with. So we've got ID elements for those, and then we must set up a table for each element there. And then, we've got sunny, raining, cloudy, thunderstorm, and then foggy, partly cloudy. So that's what you're dealing with. That sunny, that raining, that thunderstorm, that foggy, so that's what you're dealing with, So this is pretty much, this actually beautifies our front end. I'm sure I said that before, but yeah, you can see it on our front end or the web page. You can see it, man. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, come on now. As you can see here, the title that I created on the title that I created is being displayed there. Weather forecast. Then forecast for Monday, partly sunny, 3 degrees. Yeah, that's what we've got here. So yeah, partly sunny, 3 degrees. Forecast. So yeah. Forecast for Monday, partly sunny, 3 degrees. Forecast for Tuesday, partly sunny, 8 degrees. Forecast for Wednesday, snowing, 21. Forecast for Thursday, thunderstorm, 11 degrees. Forecast for Friday, partly sunny, 29 degrees. Forecast for Saturday, sunny, 34 degrees. Forecast for Sunday, partly cloudy and 23 degrees. Yeah, so that's what you did. So that's what you did there, man. So every time you refresh the page, the forecast changes. Even the colors for the forecast changes. So there's a change there, man.
Okay.
And what you notice, I'm sure you've been noticing right now, but if it's partly sunny or sunny, then you might find that for the degrees, it's gonna be 28 or above that. Whereas if it's raining or it's a cold weather, it's gonna be below that. That's why you won't have a case where you can just find a weather that's below. I mean, that's pretty much like above 28 degrees.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the workings. Yeah, things.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. Take care, bless, and thank you. Thanks for watching. Man. You understand?
Cheers.
Thanks, man. Cheers, bro.